You ever have that feeling that your savings just aren't keeping up? Like you're doing all the right things, putting money aside, but the goalposts just keep moving further and further away? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. So today, we're going to dive into why starting to invest, like right now, might be the single biggest move you can make for your finances. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with one little number.
Here it is, 4.2%. Now, this isn't just some random number on a spreadsheet. Nope, this is the average inflation rate from 2023 to 2025. You can think of it as this invisible force that's making everything from your morning coffee to your groceries more expensive every single day.
And to really see what that looks like, check this out. What $100 could buy you just a few years back in 2020, while today that same stuff costs you about $125. So if your money is just sitting there in a savings account, it's not actually standing still. It's losing its power. It's shrinking.
Which, brings us to the big question, right? If just saving your money is a losing fight against inflation, what's the alternative? How do you get your money to start working for you instead of just watching it fade away? The answer, as you've probably guessed, is investing.
But I know for so many of us, that one word, investing, it just brings up this wall of doubt. It feels complicated, maybe even scary. So before we go any further, let's just tackle those feelings head on. We're going to bust the 4 biggest myths that stop people dead in their tracks.
And here it is, the big one, that idea that you need a huge pile of cash just to get in the game. This belief that investing is some kind of exclusive club for the super rich. It's probably the #1 reason most people just never even start. But here's the reality, and this is a total game changer. That's just not true anymore. Thanks to modern apps and platforms, you can literally start with $5. The real secret here, it's not about how much you start with. It's about starting the habit. Consistency is what builds wealth, not the initial amount.
Okay, let's hit myth number 2. This is that fear that you have to be some kind of math wizard or a Wall Street genius to figure all this out. You see the charts, you hear the jargon, and it's overwhelming. It's easy to think, nope, that's not for me.
But the truth is, if you can handle a simple budget, you have all the math skills you need. And get this, what's really fascinating is that studies show women who sometimes report feeling less confident about finance often end up with better investment returns. Why? Because they tend to build smarter, more diversified portfolios for the long run.
And then there's the perfectionist's trap. You know the voice, the market seems a little too high right now, or I'll just wait for things to cool down a bit before I jump in. It's this endless search for the perfect moment to start, and it's paralyzing.
And this leads us to one of the oldest and honestly wisest sayings in all of investing. Trying to guess the market's next move. It's a fool's errand. What really builds wealth, what really works, is time in the market. Just being there, letting your investments grow through the ups and the downs.
All right, our final myth, and this one is super practical. When you're looking at student loans or a credit card bill, it can feel totally irresponsible to put your money anywhere else. It feels like every single penny should go to paying that down. The key here isn't all or nothing. It's about balance. For sure, you've got to attack that high-interest debt, like credit cards, with everything you've got. But for lower-interest stuff, like some student loans or a mortgage, you can actually do both. You can pay down your debt and start investing, even if it's just a little bit.
And let's just put a number on all of this. 68%. Yeah, research shows that's how many beginners are stopped not by what's actually in their bank account, but by these exact psychological barriers we just talked about. The biggest hurdle isn't in our wallets, it's in our heads.
So, once we get past those mental blocks, we can finally unlock the real engine of building wealth. We're talking about something Albert Einstein supposedly called the 8th wonder of the world, the power of compounding.
So what is it? Put simply, compound interest is when your money starts making its own money. The returns you earn get put back in, and then those returns start earning returns. It's not a straight line of growth. It's a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and faster and bigger all on its own.
And this timeline just shows that snowball effect perfectly. Take a $10,000 investment. In the first 10 years, it grows by about $8,000. Not bad. But look at what happens in that third decade. It grows by over $25,000. It took 20 years to hit that first $32,000, but only 10 more to stack another $25,000 on top. That's compounding really hitting its stride.
Which brings us to the single most important ingredient for making compounding work: time. And because time is so crucial, When you delay, there's a very real and often very high cost of waiting.
So let me tell you a quick story about two investors, Carolina and Andy. Both of them invest the exact same amount of money, $30,000 total. But Carolina, she starts at age 25. Andy waits until he's 45. The result? By the time they're both 65, Carolina has over 3 times more money. Same amount invested, just a different start date. The difference is absolutely staggering.
This chart makes it even more obvious. Just waiting 1 decade, from age 25 to 35, could cost you almost $200,000 by retirement. Waiting until 45, well, that cuts your potential wealth down by more than 2/3. This is the hard proof that your most valuable asset is time.
Let's boil it down even more, to a single number. $22,258. That is the opportunity cost. That's the money you lose out on by delaying a $10,000 investment by just 5 years. That's a car. That's a down payment. Gone. Just because of waiting. Okay, so the message is pretty clear, right? The myths are busted. We see the power of starting now. But what do you actually do? How do you go from watching this to actually doing it? Let's walk through the simple, practical steps to get started, like today.
Seriously, forget about complexity. It all breaks down into 4 easy steps. 1. Set a simple goal so you know what you're aiming for, and open an account. 2. Automate it. Set it and forget it. This is your secret weapon. 3. Ignore the day-to-day noise. Don't check it every hour. And 4. Check in on your stuff maybe quarterly, not daily. This keeps your emotions out of it. That's it. That's the whole playbook.
And for your very first investment, keep it super simple. A low-cost index fund is great because it's like buying a tiny piece of the entire market all at once. Or look at fractional shares, which let you buy a slice of a big company you love, even with just a few bucks. And finally, try to invest the same amount regularly. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it just smooths out the ride by taking all the guesswork out of it.
You know, there's this old proverb that I think sums this all up perfectly. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Look, none of us can go back in time. We can't change the past, but we have total control over right now. And your future self, they will thank you for it. The only question left is, are you ready to plant that tree?